Academics, analysts and politicians cut to some of the issues at the heart of Africa's democracy while gathered at the Africa Leadership Center in London. This year, at least 10 countries on the continent, including Nigeria, will conduct elections, whether presidential, parliamentary or both. But what is the level of peace-building, leadership and democratic consolidation in Africa? Can there be successful elections without these factors in place? In the case of Nigeria, the nation's prominent place in Africa is drawing a lot of attention to the coming polls.
Election is a peace-building issue, even for Nigeria. People can see now that if things don't go the way they ought to go, Nigeria can just relapse into violence, Nigeria can relapse into conflict and crisis, and the beginning of that is if there is any attempt to promote a constitutional crisis.
At the roots of much of the conflict that we have on the continent of Africa has been that our process of nation building is key. It's ongoing, it stagnates, it goes into reversal, but how we build our nations and the whole process of nation building and how effectively we do that determines the extent to which we would have peace or conflict.
Leadership or democracy is not efficient without accountability. Looking at electoral manifestos across board, analysts argue that the people must look at the long-term benefits and not immediate gratification. Promises just won't do.
In many countries in Africa is, we will give you something to eat now if you give us the cross against my name on the thing. So it is very much like that in Kenya, it's very much like that in Zimbabwe, and many other countries in Africa. It's something to eat now.
I think one of the biggest challenges that we're facing in Africa is how can you be able to implement what you promise? I think the issue is not that we don't have the deficiency in terms of promises. Every election will have tons and tons of promises, but who are the people who are going to implement?
The economic downturn in Nigeria is one of such challenges that requires strategic implementation of effective policies to douse tensions around livelihoods.
I think you're seeing this in many countries across Africa, that incumbents, particularly now when there's an economic crisis, and there certainly is an economic crisis in Nigeria with the falling price of oil, the weakening of the currency, the rise of interest rates, people are uncertain about the future. Elections stand as a major hallmark of democracy. But there is a concern that African countries, including Nigeria, might continue to struggle with consolidation if the structures of leadership, peace and security are constrained. Doris Okenwa, Channels Television News, London.